Ready when you are. Let's do this thing! Hello! What is up? If you haven't already, be sure to check out part 1 of my story. It's linked below, and this will all make a lot more sense. For those that are rejoining, after 7 months of ups and downs, we left off with me finding a functional neurologist at a concussion center in September, phase 4. A place specifically for people like me! Optimism! Amazing! This was a very cool experience that I hope to share more of someday, but for now, after 3 days of intensive brain therapy involving many robot-like devices, eye-tracking exercises, and mind games aimed at my vestibular system, like naming states that start with the letter S while clapping to a beat, I was extremely exhausted. Yeah, honestly, I thought before I started the intensive that this would be it. I would come out feeling like myself again. Yeah, no. I felt like my brain had run 5 marathons. When the exhaustion wore off about a week later, I realized the functional neurologist had brought me to consciousness. My brain no longer felt miswired, and my parts were working more or less in the right way. I felt the wind against my face differently. I spent way too much time acknowledging my left arm, and I laid in bed and actually felt like I was in my bed. What a concept. That being said, I was awoken into a scary reality. I was retested at the concussion center and left with the message that I was totally normal cognitively, had a great brain, and was likely just severely depressed. Not a great diagnosis when I was still experiencing a constant headache, thought objects were farther and closer than they were, and felt around 75% at my best. Don't get me wrong, I was very sad and appreciated her keeping my mental health in mind. I was in regular chats with my therapist to manage. Here's where I, again, had to really tune into my body and where Americans had to stick to their gut. Even when some people insisted it was all in our heads and it was time to go back to normal, evidence told us otherwise. Now that I felt conscious and my brain was smoother, it was time to dig for more answers. I had a little push in the right direction from the Concussion Compass community, the best, love them. I believed all of the pain was now coming from my neck and stress, which was kind of true. I returned to PT regularly to massage and strengthen my neck and my back, and worked with my naturopath to find calm and heal my traumas. This too was a process that came with a lot of ache and a lot of fatigue, but I was motivated by the little progress. I tuned into Epsom salt baths and kept on with taking magnesium, and I also read and practiced with breath work to just Phase 5, October to November. Lessons in reopening too fast. Just as I was reopening and felt like I was starting to get my feet on the ground, my business had someone exposed to COVID, and I took 100 steps back. I tried a new therapy, chiropractic rehab therapy, PEMF, at the same time I faced heartache and the loss of an important mentor. I closed down and spent entire days just laying in bed. PEMF, or pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, uses electromagnetic fields to attempt to repair tissue at the cellular level. After my 3rd session, once a week, I was wiped. I had 3 days in a row with not even enough brain energy to read a page in a book. Like a school who began in person and then returned to online, I retreated. While traumatized by this process, truly, I put my hope in this being my body's way of healing, and with some time, my neck pain did dramatically decrease. Then, with yet another doctor, I got some testing done for food sensitivities and heavy metals. I considered mold toxicity, which we later got our house cleaned for mold, and it felt a lot lighter. I shifted to a paleo and keto diet by completely cutting out all grains. I kept this on and off, and because it definitely helped in the beginning, but now I just sort of keep low carb. I also added a supplement called chlorella to help remove some ever-present toxins, and incorporated red light therapy before bed to wind down from the day. Also, thank goodness for nature and my dog, my only true outlets and relief. With every new practitioner, 19 total in this whole shindig, I did an entire routine. Check if insurance covers it, which it often didn't. Fill out intake paperwork that's never actually read before arriving. Then retell my story to the doctor and relive the pain. Listen to someone who is often not well versed in concussions tell me the same thing I've heard, all while working with little brain power and getting increasingly irritated. I did get savvier over time and became very direct with practitioners with what I needed. But despite all efforts up to this point, I continued to feel off. My head felt full of liquid, and with too much movement, I felt disoriented and thus couldn't exercise much still. Even at my calmest, I felt stressed. Every task was mentally overwhelming and made my body tense just thinking of it. Things as simple as going to a store or picking out an outfit. I could be focused on something for maybe 5 minutes before my mind jumped to something else. It was just like ping-ponging. And maybe 30 minutes before I needed to entirely switch tasks or take a break. I was sleeping better, but still not through the night. My ears were ringing, my digestion was off, and my energy was still so limited. Hindsight is 2020, or 2020, the year. These symptoms strongly suggest upper cervical issues. Phase 6. December. A glimmer of hope. Like everyone and their thoughts towards COVID, I was done when December rolled around. It felt like our lives had been put on pause. There was a constant looming fear of getting sick, or in my case, worsening symptoms, and we were itching for normalcy. This may have been the most isolated I felt in the whole process because I was watching others take steps in life, albeit them small, and I had completely plateaued in my recovery with every urge to want to move on. With every layer of symptoms that I had peeled back, another one was revealed, which honestly makes it really scary to think about how off I was to start. I felt, well, let me ask you, how would you feel if you had a constant headache from February until December, had been told by now 15 plus practitioners that there was nothing wrong and it was all psychological, spent all of your time researching and changing your lifestyle to little avail, listened to your friends and family tell you just not to think about it or accept this as my new normal, had been an athlete all your life and now couldn't run more than a short bit, went from living abroad to abruptly living at home and reliant on your parents, and didn't feel comfortable driving. Would you feel lost, feel sad, frustrated, really freaking angry? Same. I cried a lot. But what choice did I have then to keep digging? I started reading the book Concussion Rescue, a detail of different factors that prolong a concussion recovery. Part of me was really discouraged reading it because I had addressed almost all of the factors, but one I didn't feel like I had done enough justice to was chiropractic care. The author mentioned cerebrospinal fluid having a hard time moving properly with a misaligned spinal cord, and my brain did feel pretty full, and my top vertebra was causing a lot of discomfort at the base of my skull. As the saying goes, 6 times a charm, right? Finally, after 5 others, I found what would hopefully vaccinate me. After a thorough evaluation that included x-rays, which, amazing, what a concept, The doctor found shockingly many areas for improvement. We made a 6-month plan that began at 3 days a week and got to work right away. To be frank, I was overwhelmed after this initial appointment, not just because of information overload, but because I felt heard, I felt validated, frustrated, hopeful, angry, excited, and nervous all at the same time. Just been so long. And in poetic form, the same week that I had my appointment at Cornerstone, Pfizer released the vaccine. While we were still probably 6 months at least away from total normalcy, having a possible end in sight was re-energizing all in itself. It's definitely not guaranteed that this will be it for my recovery, just like we don't know the full effects of the vaccine, but man, I really hope it is. I will continue to put the work in to supplement the chiropractic adjustments by eating well and healing my gut, which is definitely a big focus these days, exercising as my body allows, continuing to learn meditation techniques and resting a lot. I took half time from work in January to try to give my body time to recharge. We, in turn, must continue to socially distance and hold out patience just a little bit longer. Phase 7, 2021 and beyond, on the path to new normal. Man, oh freaking man, 2020 took us for a ride. But slowly but surely, I feel like myself again, and hey, I experience new levels of joy and calm along with it. Seriously, I'm already like, my arm is supposed to have all this range of motion? What? Let us all proceed not to normal, but to better than normal. I am on a road to be healthier than I have ever been before, and have an immense amount of gratitude for little things that were so foggy to me for months. I anticipate we will all feel the same about social gatherings and other just normal activities, and I hope the same improvement for the nation under new leadership. I think it's naive to overlook that there are still a lot of outstanding questions. How can we put this entirely to rest? Why did it happen? What exactly can we do to help it, to prevent it from happening again? What were the biggest mistakes? And if we were to do it again, which please no, what would we do differently? That being said, we are armed with new tools and evidence that I'm confident will reduce the impact of future incidents. Certainly it will in my case. Like America's, my journey is not done. My profound symptoms have subsided, but I still have lingering effects from the injury and 24 years of somewhat careless living. Primarily, my symptoms include fatigue, headaches, and fogginess, and as with most treatments I've had, symptoms get worse before they get better. As I talk to you right now, my ears are ringing, there's a bit of tension like all through the front of my head, and my neck is honestly getting tired of just holding my head up. But a few months ago, I couldn't have videoed this at all, so that's progress. My health is something that I will continue to be proactive about forever, and I am so excited for the newfound power I have to take control of it on my own. Things are a lot less scary when I have the tools to handle them. I mean, I've done this whole thing with natural modalities and proper nutrition, and I think that's pretty dang cool. I will not forget the lowest of the lows that I have felt, the physical, emotional, and mental pain that I've suffered. It's really hard to put into words just how tough this recovery has been every day. But I wholeheartedly acknowledge the privilege I have to find and pay for the resources I need, to have the time to devote solely to recovery and the support system I have to get me back to myself. I'm very lucky to have found treatment in a comparatively short amount of time, and my heart breaks for all the people that continue to needlessly suffer. My first piece of advice for those dealing with PCS is join Concussion Compass. The path that I share on my website that has worked for me is the path that they advise, and because every concussion is different, they walk you through all the different possibilities, and you'll be on your road. Be sure to check out my full timeline. As I mentioned before, it's on my website if you're curious. My advice for everyone, take little steps every day to maintain your health. I strongly believe we need to be building our bodies to be more resilient than they are. If I had taken steps, it would not have been so bad for me. Preparing our bodies so that if trauma does happen, it has the tools to react properly. Preventing disease by fueling with proper nutrients, taking a more holistic approach to health and not being so complacent with symptoms that are just normal and how things are. Our bodies send us signals when something needs attention and really can heal with assistance. This preventative logic also works for global systems. The pandemic has highlighted the importance of future-proofing for times when we need global cooperation and action. May we take appropriate caution when needed and use all that we have learned to make us better going forward. Use empathy and compassion to help us all heal. Yay! Thank you to you for listening. Thank you to Empire Vision Photography for helping me film and edit this video. I would love to hear from you. If you have any thoughts, any and all thoughts, please reach out below or via my website if you have questions about my recovery specifically. And maybe, just maybe, I'll share more in the coming months. That's it for now. Bye. I don't know. I don't show a ton of emotion about it, but that was like definitely the hardest.
Recording.